Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 35-year-old from Lewes, England. His hockey journey took him to England, Canada, the USA, Scotland, Australia, and I just saw him in the old honey hole, Cardiff, Wales. He broke into pro hockey as a teenager with the Slough Jets, then decided to spread his hockey wings and head across the pond to the Bradford Rattlers and promptly became a two-time champion and an all-star, earning his way to NCAA hockey at Morrisville State College. He then set up shop in Glasgow and played 4 seasons with the Clan. He then ran a muck of the Australian League with the Adelaide Adrenaline and probably ate kangaroo. Sick weirdo. We then became teammates and champions with my Cardiff Devils, winning the Challenge Cup and promptly got the Devils banned from the hotel. The next season, he loved the pregame speeches and then set up shop with the Guildford Flames for the next 4 seasons while becoming a worldwide phenomenon, becoming one of the most famous photographers in all the world and is running amok of the photo industry, folks, as M Visuals. Welcome to the shed, Mike Will.
Mate, what an introduction. I've never.
Hey there, Eric. You're muted, Wilsey.
Because you're on a work call, mate.
Yeah, well,
Right.
It is Monday.
Yeah, fair. What an introduction. I was just saying, what an introduction. You've done your research, mate. That was amazing. Yeah, and what a crazy career it's been so far.
It really has. And, I told the big dog that work always came first, and I am taking my lunch hour, so hopefully nobody else calls, right?
No, I appreciate you having me on at this time. So, yeah, man, it's great to see you.
We've been talking about doing this forever, and then I finally saw you in person, and then we even exchanged phone numbers again. Isn't it weird how you lose track of people's phone numbers when all these hockey guys switch phones every summer?
Yeah. It's one of those things that you guys are so close, and you're literally in each other's messages every day, and then suddenly, like, you go your separate ways, and it's crazy. It really is.
Like, it really is. It's like you're brothers, and then you're still brothers. Like, and it seems like for that next start of the half a season, you'll really talk a lot with your teammates from the year before. And then you get in with the new team and it just kind of fizzles out, till you start a shed.
Yeah, until you start something like this, though, which is awesome. And it was great to catch up with you in Cardiff. That was such an awesome weekend for Batchy's testimonial.
Yeah, it wasn't it? What a time.
Oh man, so good. I was pumped when I didn't realize the lineup he was gonna bring in. And then he just asked me, and I was like, yeah, sure, like, cool, it'll be fun to see some of the Brits and maybe a few Canadians and ports. And then suddenly I looked at the roster, I was like, holy mate, unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's a testament to Batchy, right? That, like, there's a few guys that, like, they put up their own money and paid for flights across the world to be there for him. And that goes to show what type of dude he is, right?
Absolutely.
And awesome. We raffled off a jersey and I pretty well paid for my flight, folks. So good work, everybody.
But it was 100% worth it.
It was. So I like your slogan there behind you. Do epic shit. So where are you right now?
I'm in London. I've just crossed over recently. I was in Spain. And then before that I was in LA, Vegas. Before that I was in Japan somewhere maybe, and then I was in Bali for 6 weeks, and then South Africa and Paris, and there's definitely some other places in between.
This is all like within how long? You went told us
like 5 months.
Really? So you're on the move then,
Cardiff.
Eh?
Yeah, it's been an incredible start to the year. I don't even know where you want to start.
I think we should, like, I usually get into how we know each other, but I'm so curious of what you've been doing since we played together. I've kind of watched it from afar, but I get into how we know each other. I'll never forget it because I've seen what you've done and what you've become with your brand and your business. But, like, I remember showing up at a hotel on a road trip, and all I want to do is go in the room and have a beer too with Dougie and Chef, right? And that's what we do, is have a beer and chat. It's like an episode in the shed. But you were getting, as soon as we got to a city, you were getting in the elevator and leaving with your camera, and I remember saying like, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm going shooting. And I could tell the passion you had for it, and like you couldn't wait to get to different cities to go out and shoot, right?
It was just an opportunity to take my camera out. I just had this little point and shoot camera, and it was just something to do on the side of hockey. It was like a little fun hobby. And I think that often when, we all love hockey and it's all part of our life and that's what we focus on and we do, but it was nice to have something outside of that I was passionate about as well. And then photography was just that passion. And we used to go to, I remember we went to Belfast, and I used to go onto the rooftop of the hotel and I'd go and shoot from there. And then we were in Nottingham a few times and I would try different areas, and it was just cool to then be able to go and shoot different,
because hockey took you there, right? Yeah,
exactly. And then that's where it kind of started, and that was my second year in Cardiff. And then when I then signed in Guildford, it was obviously the closest team to London.
Yeah.
So it brought about an incredible amount of opportunity to have and go shoot around in London.
Yeah.
And that is really where it then exploded, because I started posting on social media, and that became such a big thing that we now know today with Instagram, and then the growth of TikTok and other social media platforms alongside them.
Yeah.
But at the time, no one was doing it, and I remember guys just going like, "Why are you posting on Instagram?" I was like, "I don't know, because it's cool. Like,
yeah,
it's fun."
Well, it is fun to do stuff. I like posting on Instagram too, funny stuff. I just posted a couple funny ones of you. One of your poster pics, I don't know if you've ever zoomed in, but Tom Darnell is right behind the net with the goofiest grin on his face. Was that a shootout?
That was a.
Why is he standing behind you looking like that? What a smug looking grin on his face.
I think that was one of his last games. Is he still in the league? I don't know.
No, and I actually, so that's what brings people
God.
together is he wrote to me when I posted that, and
no way.
And he said how much he misses it. And I said, well, it looks like you're having fun. I love it. And he goes, always having fun, man. I miss it. And it's fun when the refs have fun.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Anyways, but yeah, so you started it with Instagram, and like, dude, I thought it was cool that like we're over 170,000 listens to the audio. And I thought that was really neat. Yeah, from me in my shed talking to my friends. But then I when I looked you up, man, you have 214,000 followers.
I have a few, yeah.
How do you get that many? Like, where have you gone and what have you done?
Consistency. Just post as many times as possible, creating as cooler content as possible, riding waves of, I guess, what social media tells you is going to be a trend for a while.
So you like study the social media too, like you know how to do it. I remember you'd always use hashtags. I don't do that. I just post it.
But that's changed now. They're not as important anymore. But it's a case of like constantly social media wants to evolve and wants to evolve its creators. So therefore they're going to give little nuggets of information that you can kind of pick up on in a certain way to then grow in certain things so it's just a case of keeping up on those trends and finding out what they're wanting you to do and playing the social media game basically. And I did that quite early on. I figured it out and then had multiple brands going, and and then found a lot of success through Instagram, which is crazy, and was working with these brands, with some incredible brands from Xbox to I became a Sony ambassador. I was working with Samsung, Google, Bentley,
and they reach out to you by posting stuff.
So they reach out to me through Instagram or through, now I have obviously a great network, and through email. And just reach out and say, hey, we've got a campaign, or we need this, or we need that. Like I was just in Spain creating a commercial and directing for Toyota. So we had the global Toyota team. So that's for their global.
It's so cool to see where you're at from being that kid leaving in the elevator, you know?
Yeah, literally running off with my little point and shoot camera.
It's so cool to see. And like the pictures you put up, I'm like, I have no idea how he did that. When you were doing the ones where like there were lights and like it was like a car would go in the mountains in Switzerland, and then you'd have like the trail behind it, and I was like, what is this sorcery?
Long exposures. That's kind of where I made a name for myself in the industry, was through night photography, and that kind of then paved the way for learning and doing as well, which has been cool. Yeah, so it's been.
So what's your forte nowadays? Now you're like film director, photographer, director of what? Like what all you got going here?
I've moved more into directing and organizing. I guess that's like become something much bigger, which I'm doing on the side of my social media. I'm still doing a lot of travel content. I still tour with DJs, so lots of music festivals. There's still a lot of content that's going on my own social as well, with social media influencing with different brands. But a large part of what I'm moving in towards, and we'll see if it continues that way, is the production side of things. So getting a team around me to then create a larger scale, or not necessarily larger scale, because it's what I'm doing anyway with me and one other person would be the same, but like it's for bigger brands and for more content of it. So not just like one reel or 10 photos, it's like 50 photos or 6 or 7 reels that you're then producing, and that's then obviously a slightly larger operation.
I don't know this world at all, right? I just like talking to my shed. I don't. So, wow, you're going to be traveling a lot more than this year coming up, eh?
Yeah. There's going to be a lot more coming up. I mean, the next month I'm trying to be in the UK. I might be in Turkey next week, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And then the following week I might be somewhere else, but I'm trying to move them. And I'm waiting for I have a couple of other big shoots coming up, so I'm trying to work my way around that. And
so are you still taking a lot of the pictures, or do you know who's got talent and you have people working for you now?
So I guess with the photos it's still me, and then with the videos, it's like, because the videos become so much bigger, I'm sure, on social media, I have a team around me that so a talented team of anything from animators to videographers, cinematographers, that I can bring in, and we can kind of execute my ideas, and we can get it all done. And then I'll help assist it, but it'll be like the vision that I have will be part of that. And then, they can help do it, because it's tough to do absolutely everything. And there's some incredibly talented people out there. So it's better to build a strong team. And I guess I learned that through hockey is a big part of when I broke into the photography industry. It was very much a soloist hobby, and I had the complete opposite approach of being like, well, why would I do it on my own? Why wouldn't I have 5 other or 10 other people around me that are all incredibly talented, and we can help each other out, and we can all level up?
And that is hockey, right? And I bet you there's not many hockey guys that were as passionate as into what you're into, and that skill set would definitely help. And I remember when you were starting, like, geez, you'd almost call it a cult to all these guys showing up in the UK, and you called it like UK shooters or something, right? And then you were having like all your people together and all learning from each other and getting better. And isn't that hockey?
Yeah, no, literally, like we started UK Shooters, which is from one of the other businesses, which was a community. So that was to get, any number of people from, we now host events where they're ticketed, but at the time, I remember the last one I did when I was in Guildford, unticketed, but it's over like 400 people there, which was crazy. And then now we have to like run them officially, and we have sponsors, and it's really, really cool. And it's amazing to get people together. But as I said, that initial photography kind of friendships that I started up were all quite unique and quite different, because people were like, oh, I've never shot with anyone else before. And I was like, well, why not? Like, that's stupid. You should definitely have around and to do things. And that really progressed. And 100% that came from the hockey environment of having the boys, always there, always have your back.
Well, and hockey is like literally you show up every day at practice and you all push each other to try and get better. You all hold each other accountable, and you learn how to be better teammates the longer you go in hockey. And it's from learning from each other. And I'm sure it's the same in photography, right? Because I couldn't believe how fast you were learning, man. I was watching these posts. I'm like, how does he know how to do that already? He's only been doing it for a few months. I remember it all. It's crazy. Mate, so does the shed align with your brand? If you share this, would it go to 200,000 followers and all of a sudden Mike Will is my big break?
Yeah, hopefully. Let's see if we can make it happen.
I think it's so neat. So where is what's the oddest place you've traveled to that you never would have guessed you would have gone to?
Oh, that's a good question. I think early on.
Thank you. I try my best.
Yeah. I think early on, one of the first places I went to was Hong Kong.
Yeah, that'd be different.
And I had prior to photography, when it was all hockey, it was all North America. I loved going to Canada. I loved going to America. And I wanted to go to other places in Europe where hockey was big. And it never, ever crossed my mind to head over to that side of the world. Yeah. And then when I did, it was such a different culture. And it was like, I was like, I've literally opened up. And I remember thinking this when I landed. I was like, I've opened up an entirely new world that I would never have seen, because if I'd have continued just doing one thing and not branched out into photography, I would never have gone to Hong Kong or Japan, which I came back from recently, or any of these other amazing places around the world that potentially.
Well, it sounds like
radar.
it's you're getting to see the world and learn new things, and that's what I loved that hockey did that for me. Is like I probably never would have been to Germany in my life if I wouldn't have gone to play hockey there. And then I could, you end up learning some German, and you got like friends over there for life, and it's all through hockey and opportunity. But I guess it's kind of cool. Like I've had a lot of opportunity with this, right? I got jerseys made and shirts, and people wearing running amok shirts, which is hilarious. And all this fun stuff has happened because I was passionate about it. And I miss my friends and I want to talk to them. And it's cool how like passion and can open up opportunities. And it seems like you are running a muck. You are doing epic shit, as you would say.
Yeah, literally, yeah. It's a lot of fun, and as long as you're I think the big thing for brands as well, if you're passionate, which if you love what you're doing, again, you can relate to all of this, then that's what people want to see. That's what people want. That's what brands want. That's what agencies want. That's what other people want, and so they can see it when they're speaking to you. If you have a cool idea, and they just go for it,
and people can feel the passion when you talk about something like that. And you know what? It's no different in hockey. The guys that played with the most passion and enjoyed the game the most and were having fun while they were playing, I think were the ones that fans wanted to see play the most.
Yeah.
Right. And the guys that just aren't that into it and aren't that passionate, the product on the ice is pretty much the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, we had a really great team in Cardiff. That first year was something special, and everyone was on the same page. And
and like I have that written down at some point, and I just wrote, "What a bunch of dudes," like that's what it was. It was just a bunch of absolute weapons having fun playing hockey.
No, it really was.
Oh gosh. And I also posted that you really, really liked my pregame speeches the next season.
Yeah, you were a star of the show there whenever you'd come in. And I mean, I'm not sure have you told people about this in the past, or is this
we haven't talked about it in a while, but yeah, like it's came up. But like I have a video on my phone of the night in Sheffield when Thor jumped out of the shower, and you literally you stood up and you almost jumped through the ceiling. You were so excited. And as I've beaten the wheels off of Deese with the hammer, you were like right up, like, yeah, give it to him. Man, I love doing that stuff because I was like, I wonder what's going to happen, what the reaction's going to be. Cause you guys don't know, I've came like 5 hours away. I'm naked hiding in the shower as Thor with a cape and a wig on and the hammer. And then when I come out, and you literally jumped out of your chair. You were so excited. It made me feel good that it was all worth it,
Mate, 100%. Mate. If anyone doesn't know, Wally used to come naked to the pre-game and then would put on a show basically for the boys before to get everyone fired up. I don't know if that's an accurate description or not, but
I would become the character I was, right? And my son was like 2 years old or 3 years old, and he had a bunch of superhero masks, a whole bin of them. And
that's right.
So I went through all the superheroes. Deese would spray paint me as whatever I needed to be, whether it was the Hulk, he'd spray paint me green, the full canvas, folks. And then I would hide in different areas of the arena. And sometimes I even made road games, and I went on the fan bus and had pints with the fans and got to know them. And realistically, that's probably why so many people have listened to the Shed, was that like I was on the fan bus with those people, and we became like a hockey family too,
Amazing. Yeah.
Good speeches though. That was I said that to Deese the one day because he was doing them with me, and I said, when we were doing that, like we never really thought of like people are going to talk about this stuff for a long time. We were just trying to help the team win, right?
Getting the boys fired up.
Getting them fired up. And you guys were fired up, weren't you?
I mean, they went out and they won, right?
That's right. And we did win the Challenge Cup together and got the team banned from that hotel. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. Winning's fun, right?
Winning is fun.
Yeah. And
that was cool.
When you get a group of dudes like that together, you're going to win something, because like that first year, man, it was in professional hockey, I think that was my favorite year of hockey. Like overall, like that was the most fun I had playing hockey.
Yeah. No, it was special, and it was down to the group of guys that Lordo brought in and Franny brought in because it was so different.
The careers and everything from that team that people have had. You got Marty, Richie, Chef, Hadadio, and but then it's like not just what people do in their hockey careers, it's like what people are doing after hockey. And there was a lot of impressive people on that team, yourself included, sir. Epic shit. Right?
Absolutely.
Running amuck's fun, right? Okay, how we know each other. 2014-15. This is part of the stuff I'm talking about.
This is going to be a good story. I've got something for the people as well on this.
Well, so
I remember my first ever experience with you.
Oh dear, what's this now?
Sorry, carry on.
I was going to bring up when we went to Dundee. And we beat the Dundee Stars, and we had a fan bus there that were all Dundee drunk. But this was part of me coming out of my shell and not caring what people thought of me. And I was going to start acting like myself, because when I played in Denmark, I was just like every other hockey guy. I'd show up and work hard and leave. And like, I wasn't Wally. I wasn't having as much fun as I do and I like doing. And when we went up with the fans and they made you and Bouncy sing Shake It Off
on stage,
and I got up and I was your dancer for Shake It Off.
You saved the day, because Bouncy and I were really butchering that.
You guys were brutal. Somebody had to save you.
Yeah, well, I don't even know who volunteered us for it. We definitely didn't volunteer ourselves.
Well, you got to know your skill set, right? I'm not a singer. I'm a dancer, right? You know that.
100%. Well, then you came in and absolutely stole the show, so it was much appreciated.
So what's your story? What do you mean you remember?
Well, I came in from Australia, if you don't remember.
I remember because I remembered Lordo was losing his mind. Don't even have a backup goal. He's just over in Australia doing whatever.
We were in playoffs, and I remember Franny was messaging me like 50 times a day, being like, so are you flying out early? Are you flying out early? Are you flying out early? And it was like, I was, at the time, I had no money. I was earning absolutely, trash money. It was fun. I had no money. Yeah, just move your flight forward to the first date you can get back. And it was like, I don't know, let's say £2,000 to change it, or £1,000, whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that if you guys are willing to pay for it. And they were like, no. You've got to pay for it and then get back. And I was like, well, you knew this, but when you signed me.
Yeah, and the team's not going to pay for your flight back until you're done the job.
Yeah, so exactly. So the Australian team wasn't willing to move it forward because they were like, you have to stay.
Yeah, because you played all season and now you're in the playoffs. So we're going to pay for your flight when you're good and done.
Yeah, you can just leave now. That'd be great. Anyways, so then we got to the end of it. I then flew, obviously. And I remember I landed and drove straight to Cardiff, which is probably a 3.5 hour, 4 hour drive. And then backed up a game that night.
Are you talking about Gatwick?
That was the home. Yeah.
That's a brutal drive, man. We just did that. Oh. Thank you to my shed sponsor, Neil Parker, for picking the fellas up from the airport for the testimonial in Stars and Cars, right? Shed Boost.
That's a great plug.
It was, right? See that? Jumped right into it.
Smooth. So I landed and I remember I sit down in my stall and the boys are like, nice to meet you. And so I get ready for 2-touch, which is the ultimate time of pre-game, like absolutely love it. And I go outside, I'm trying to figure out who everyone is. And I step into the circle and I step next to this small guy next to me, this guy
short, fat guy. And you're like, well, this guy's not going to be able to 2-touch. And then you probably saw some skills that you're like, what is this?
Well, I didn't even get to see it. So what I did, I step into the circle, new game, everyone's fired up. Ball gets hit to Wally. Wally takes one touch in his knee, turns to me, and just fires it directly at me. So I'm out, or even start. And I'm like, who is this asshole? And why is he picking on me? And then I realized
because you were late to the season.
Yeah, and that was my first ever experience of Wally.
And then you realized we were competing, and it's not just a game.
and then I realized that actually it wasn't personal.
I bet you probably missed my back strikes too, right? Where I pretend I'm gonna head it and then turn and let it drop off my back. I get guys with that all the time.
Yeah, so that was my first memory of you.
Well, when you're done hockey, the things that you miss, it's kind of strange to think of, but two touch is one of those things, right?
Oh,
How many
yeah,
times are
mate.
we going to get the boys together for a game of two touch anymore, right?
Yeah, I know. I miss that a lot. I haven't
Oh,
played since I retired.
well, and then like there's the nerds that don't play two touch, like, and they like just exercise before the game, and it's like
Yeah,
that is no fun. Why don't you have some fun and enjoy being a pro? You know,
yeah, 100%.
just thinking out loud. But so else how we know each other. This is one of my encounters I remember, and everybody remembers different stuff. But when you're a dad and you're new to the dad game, and your teammates take the time to get to know your kids and stuff, you appreciate that. And I remember hitting the depot with you and playing ping pong with Colby, and he was like standing on the table. He was so
We
little.
did.
And that's the food truck place, man. That place was awesome.
Yeah, that was opposite where Hendo lived, wasn't it?
Yeah, right across the road. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
there's.
yeah.
I think I saw a sign that's still around, but
It's still
you could
there.
go there, have a couple beers and some exotic food from cool trucks that are serving incredible
Yeah,
food. Right, that was a great spot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we didn't go there enough. I didn't go there enough. Anyways, you
Yeah,
guys did, but
it
yeah,
was pretty new, but I found out about it from the Met where I went to school because it was a guy that went to
Oh
that school
yeah.
that started it.
Oh no way.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
I
like his
forgot you were a
marketing
schoolboy.
plan, and then he like did it the next year. Our teacher was telling us about it, and I was like, huh, no way. And
Good for him.
That's my honey hole.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I actually have it written down. Australia to Cardiff, Lordo losing it. Well, research team was hot.
Yeah.
I just remember that because I don't know how late you were, like a couple weeks, right? Preseason.
I missed preseason and I came for maybe the last preseason game and weekend of the season. But it wasn't late. I didn't miss any. Maybe it
Right.
was the first game of the season. No, maybe it was
Yeah.
the first game.
I just thought it was so funny because for a
I
while
definitely
there,
missed
I don't know if you
yeah,
remember Booger, Callum Booglass. I called him Booger. I thought he was the backup goalie at first.
because he sat in my store, right?
Yeah, and then
Yeah, a few
I
people
didn't
did that.
realize
They
he
were
was a
calling.
defenseman.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was funny stuff. So when you got 240,000 followers, like how many messages and stuff for people are you getting?
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming sometimes.
Right?
I was actually just off. I was off story. Like I try and post it at least 5 times a week, 4 or 5 times a week, minimum 4 on Instagram, and then
Like
I also have my
of new pictures that you've taken?
yeah, I have new pictures, new content, new reels, and then I don't know, 20 stories a week. I took off stories when I was in Spain because the job was quite challenging, and I just needed to like sort stuff out. And then I didn't check DMs, and I just checked them on the weekend because I said I was going to reply to people, and yeah, there's hundreds in there. But it's generally people asking what camera to buy, what lens I use for this certain shot, where to, how to become a pro and how to make moves in the industry. So it's all quite, nice stuff, but it's very
Right.
time consuming. You reply to 10 of those and suddenly you've lost half an hour of your life.
And that is your free time, is like, that's you have to decide to look at those messages and respond.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, there's lots of famous folks out there that like they don't respond because they literally don't have the time. Like, think about how many people are writing
Yeah,
to them,
no,
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot, but it's also cool. Like I try and, people are incredibly supportive, so I try and give back and support and reply whenever I can, but it's getting more and more challenging. And then now I'm trying to split myself across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So it's like finding the balance of that. And then I also run like another 10 accounts. So it's like trying
Really?
to spread yourself across those is like, yeah, well, all the shooters accounts, so
So
all
I
the
have no
community accounts.
idea what I'm doing with my stuff. I just see funny photos and snap them and just write shed guys. And like,
Yeah.
I don't tag people enough. I don't do enough stuff, but like, I also know I only have so much time today. Like, I got a real job, like we discussed,
Yeah.
and I don't have time to get right into it. I've never even been on TikTok. I don't really bother with Twitter that much because like,
Yeah. Twitter's another one. God. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, I'm just going to stick with doing the stuff I think is fun and funny on Instagram and carry on.
Well, that's the most important thing, because if you're enjoying and having fun, then you're going to have more success than if you don't like it and you're doing something on TikTok because you don't like it, or you're on Twitter because you think it's
I
bad.
try to
So just
not
keep
be on
doing
my
that.
phone that much, but like, it is so easy that I ask you for your 10 photos, which we're going to get into now. And which
Cool.
it's like the epic, it's epic shit. it's one of the most epic posters I've seen, those photos you sent me, but I guess you should have good photos, right?
Yeah. There's no excuse if I send you some dusty old ones. So I had to have a quick look through the archive and ping them over.
Oh no. So, well, let's get into that then. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Poster pics. You played for Team Great Britain. You know, I'm pretty much on the team now. I got swag. I got golf shirts, team issued pants.
Okay.
Wow. I'm a
Wow.
huge Team Great Britain fan. I think it's probably the best culture of a hockey team I've ever seen in my life. I never got to play for them, but when I see what they have, and you can just feel it, the way they talk about it, the way they talk about their experiences of playing there, they are so excited to play with each other. They're so excited to get to that Team GB time of year. It's a special team, isn't it? When did you play for them?
Absolutely.
Was that when we were in Cardiff?
No, I played previously the year that I was in Glasgow.
Okay.
And then I actually did. So I played the years in Glasgow, and then then our first end of the first year in Cardiff. Yes. So it was the transition year and then the first year there. But yeah, I think it's that time, you know, the season is so long and there's only 4, 5, 6 Brits. So that dynamic is completely different to then suddenly having a full team of British guys who you don't get to play with very often. You don't get to see very often.
And you're usually enemies. Yeah.
And you're usually enemies. Exactly. Like, because you're never going to be able to be on a team with the best 10, 20 British players because they're always split across different teams, right? So you're never going to play with Dowdy from Sheffield along with
and it's like whoever it's a hell of a squad they have now. Like Richie, what a core of people, right?
Yeah, exactly. And those guys have all grown into it, and those guys have all built that culture. And that starts with leaders in there, and you know, people like Richie and Dowdy and those boys.
That would have been a pretty big day when you made Team Great Britain, eh?
Yeah, it was amazing. So it was the year that actually Bouncy broke through. So I was rooming with Brown Bouncy. I was this before we played together, and we were just friends.
Yeah.
And then he was there. I remember we went to training camp, and he was a couple of days late. So the other goalie was late. So just me and Bouncy. So we got on really, really well. And then I made it through camp, and then we obviously went to the championships. And it was the year that then Bouncy was the second goalie, and Murph was the first. And then Murph had an injury, and then Bouncy stepped in and absolutely was unbelievable.
Yeah,
won all the games, and then that put us in. We didn't win anything, but it put us in like a position of okay, we've got this young guy coming through. And
then he got to be a starter on, you know.
And then he was a starter the following year, exactly. So like, yeah, it was amazing to be.
He was a starter in Hull, though, right? In the EHL, and then he came to Cardiff. Yeah, but exactly, like he's still doing it, right? Like he was just named one of the top players in the tournament. They just won gold again, eh? What a guy!
Yeah, I was watching all of it, been keeping on with the scores. Yeah, it's definitely a special culture, as you say, and I think also because like Brits in the league often get treated without the same amount of respect that imports get treated. So there's almost that like go fuck yourself attitude where it's like, okay, we're now together, we're all together,
and then they have something to prove, and they are out there to prove to everybody that they can play, and it's not just the imports. And you see a guy like Matthew Myers, right? That every year a team has him on the third, fourth line, and every year he outplays the imports and ends up on the power play stand in front of the net. And then he goes through it again the next year, and then the next year. And it's like, haven't you guys figured out he should be on the power play every time?
Just bring him in for that role. You know what he's going to do. He's done it for so many years. He's going to win big
face-offs, and like
he's going to win championships.
Yeah, and like for me, it was the guy I needed when I was in Cardiff. He was like, I had a tough start that season, and it wasn't until they put me with him, which was literally exactly what I needed. A guy that would give it out wide to me early on. He didn't want the puck in the neutral zone. He wanted me to have it. And then he would just go to the net, and I'd be like, perfect. You take them all to the net, and then
no one does that.
You know, nobody plays like him anymore.
No, I know. Yeah. Again, that culture, and you know, he's been unbelievable on that team as well. And yes, so
quite the squad.
Yeah. It's that thing. Yeah.
And you got to play for them.
A lot of fun.
Okay.
I did. I was very honored. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight of my career, and I've got my jerseys up on my wall at my mum's house, and it's really cool.
Kind of like in the shed. I still got a few, but you know, I got some. But so next poster pick, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. Okay, so
I'm on it
it's
now.
like a waterfall. Someone's standing there with like a light, and it's like, I don't know.
Okay,
what
that's
is
my
that
girlfriend.
like? Is that the Northern Lights?
Iceland.
Iceland.
That is Northern Lights in Iceland.
Really? That's your girlfriend?
Yeah.
And I just met your gal.
You did in Cardiff. Yeah, that was our first ever ice hockey game. So
yeah, that was her first hockey game. She got to see you're multi-talented, eh? You still had it too.
I know. Oh, I flung out a glove save, and then I was happy with that. So
yeah, you played well.
Yeah, I hadn't been on the ice in 3 years. The last practice we had was 12th of March, 2020.
Oh, is that when you
2019?
were done?
Wait, when was COVID? Yeah, that was it. Whenever COVID was,
that was
my last practice.
Yeah,
and
I've only been coaching the kids. I just I don't get wheeling around very much. I just tell people how to wheel around.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, but I tried hard that night.
Yeah,
the boys are telling me I was good. But that picture's got to be one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, it was Iceland, amazing place. If anyone listening wants to go somewhere extremely special, I'd recommend Iceland.
So is that opportunity of that looking like that? Does that happen all the time, or did you know that there's a certain time of the year?
Certain times of year. Yeah. So I'll be honest, those Northern Lights I took the week before I was in Norway. 2 weeks before I was in Norway, and I took some incredible shots, very similar of the Northern Lights, because I knew that I took 3 planes to get up to this incredibly northern spot where a friend was, and we shot the Northern Lights. It was unbelievable. Then I flew back. And then I went to then I went to Iceland the following week, and we were supposed to get more Northern Lights, but we didn't. We had a storm. So I photoshopped that in, but just because it was awesome. But you can see, for instance, that waterfall is.
Did you just say you photoshopped that in?
Yeah.
So you put that picture together with multiple pictures?
Yeah. So I took the pictures, one in Norway and one in Iceland, and I just sandwiched them together, and then.
Holy moly. You got to be creative to do that.
Yeah, well, that kind of shot is possible, but you just need to have incredible conditions. And we were there for 4 days, and
it looks like it's one picture, and like that it's merged together so well.
That's the whole point. That's the idea.
That's the talent.
But yeah, no. But we're gonna go back this year, and we're gonna hopefully get the proper shot. But yeah, that was an amazing trip.
So what do you got? You're in London area. You got like an apartment you're living in, and then you keep that as you move around and are in just different hotels, probably get wined and dined by all these different big companies, eh?
Yeah. So my movements after hockey, I was in Guildford. I then stayed in Guildford for a year and a half because the team were very supportive and they gave me a house there.
Okay.
And then I moved to central London during just before the second kind of lockdown phases happened in the UK. And I moved into a hotel. So I lived for a full year in a hotel which had kitchens. It was like a mini studio basically, but it was a hotel, so it was pretty sick. And I did that. But I had
could you cook? Was there a place to cook in there?
Yeah, there was a place to cook. Yeah. It was proper.
So when you speak of living in a hotel, it brings back bad memories for me. Was when I went to the AHL in Syracuse, they put me in the hotel the whole time, and you'd be there for weeks at a time. And it was you couldn't cook; you had to eat out every meal, and it's this is brutal.
So I had a kitchen, and with everything, fridge, freezer, cooking oven, microwave, whatever. So I had a full kitchen on one. I then had room, area, bed, and then had the bathroom, and then had like a big closet. So it was the perfect thing. And then I also looked out onto the panoramic view of London. So I had the suite on the top floor.
And now you found your own place, and
now I found my place. But I basically was just living on the road for that year on the hotel. Then I did living fully on the road. So I did digital nomad for a full year, and now I have a place with 2 other housemates who are both in the same industry.
When you're living on the road for a year, okay, who's financing all this hotels and comping the stays? Like, did you have to put up a bunch of money to get going in this world?
So it depends. So, for instance, it depends on the job. So usually the job will be, let's say I was in San Francisco working for the tourism board. They'll have an 8-day trip planned, and I'll say, okay, great. I want to have extend my flights, and I want to have 4 days before and 4 days after to make it into a 2-and-a-bit, 3-week trip or whatever. And they'll go, yeah, no worries. And then I have to pay for myself before and then pay for myself after. But that middle chunk is obviously still paid for.
Yeah.
But then I get to travel for longer. I get to shoot extra content. I get to see friends. So I would do that for most trips that were.
You're fighting the balance to still live life and have free time and enjoy it. Make it fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And then others. And I also still had a good relationship with a hotel in London. So I would then come back and I'd stay at the hotel whenever I was in London, and then I'd fly back out again.
Do you still get jet lagged with all the traveling you're doing?
Nuts.
Is jet lag still a thing?
No, I mean, I think the key is just to instantly jump into it and sleep. And I always schedule a day after and a day after flights to like just work from home, not do anything. And then I can just sleep if I need to. I sleep for 12, 15 hours sometimes after like a full 24 hours of not being asleep. And then I seem to just jump straight back into the routine.
Yeah, you gotta. It's fun to live an interesting life, right? You're living an interesting life.
Yeah, no, it's good. But the new place is great, and I've been here since January, but I only spent like 6 weeks here, so now I'm happy to be back. I've just bought a load of stuff from IKEA, so I'm ready to.
IKEA.
I feel like I'm now in. I feel like I'm now in my own place.
So next poster pick. One, you're in a Guildford Flames jersey with another goalie. Who's that guy?
Yes, that guy is Petr Čech. Do you know who that is?
Petr Čech, like the soccer player, the football player,
the football player. Yeah,
that's him.
That's him. That's the superstar, one of the best football goalkeepers of all time.
I saw something about this. He went and played a hockey game for someone, right?
So yeah, he's done quite a lot. So basically, I'll tell you a bit of a backstory here. So he used to train with us when he was playing at Chelsea, which is like he was winning. I think he was like half. I don't know what he was on money wise, but whatever it was, stupid money.
Like one of the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah, one of the biggest football stars in the world. And it was kind of like he was doing it very occasionally, and it was like he was absolutely loving it. And then he signed for Arsenal and moved to Arsenal, obviously another incredibly big football team in London. And he had it, I'm pretty sure I had it in his contract that he was allowed to then train with us. So he would come in and train with us once or twice a week around his football schedule. And he absolutely loved it. And then we became friends. It was funny because he came in the room and I think we do is talk hockey. And of course, all the boys just want to talk football to him about what's going on in the Premier League.
And all he wants to do is talk hockey with you guys.
And he's the opposite. And he's talking about NHL highlights and he's bringing up on his phone. And still to this day, the skates that I use were bought by him because Bauer brought out these new skates and he was like, Willsy, I'm getting a pair. Do you want some? And I didn't have skates in my contract in Guildford and they didn't buy me them. So I was like, I mean,
yeah,
sure. And he was like, brilliant. Yeah. I'm ordering them now and literally in the locker room. And he ordered them. And he's like, they're going to be with us in a week. And then he brought them into practice the next week and he was so happy and he had a pair for himself and had a pair for me.
Sounds like a beauty.
Oh, he was unbelievable. And he took us to the games. He had a box at Arsenal. He used to give us it. And yeah, great guy and incredible, like one of the best athletes of all time, or the best footballers, of all time, Premier League goalkeeper, and just one of the most humble guys you'll ever meet. And you wouldn't know. Cool. You would never know. So
well, so you know what that brings up for me and my weird brain was going to Batchy's testimonial and hanging out with all those shed guys that like, you know, we play in the EIHL. Nobody's making a lot of money. We're grinding it out and we love hockey. But like for me with 2 kids and everything we're into, like I'm not going over there with a big budget to spend a lot of money. And how many people bought me drinks and how many of those guys were buying rounds after rounds for each other and for the boys. I was so appreciative because they were just doing it because like we all love each other and like it was awesome for me to go over there and realistically hardly have to spend much money with everything we got going on because all of these fantastic folks, you know?
Yeah. No, it was a good one. And as you say, like that's because everyone was a good group of guys.
You're right. Okay. So I think this next one's probably Hong Kong now that I think about it, but the one where you're like taking a picture and pointing at like it looks like a building's like on fire.
Actually, no, so that's like a selfie. So that I put that on there just because it's got quite a cool story. So that was
I love selfies too, dude. I've been taking shed guy selfies all the time. Nothing like a good selfie.
I mean, I don't take enough of them. But this was actually in South Africa in January, and I was working out there for Samsung doing a campaign, and it was potentially the first ever selfie taken on the Samsung S23 Ultra, which is their flagship phone. So I had the phone a couple of months before, and I was up on this viewpoint taking photos for Samsung, and I had a security guard following me around like he was like an actual proper like operatives guy who was just like sunglasses, cap, and just would follow me and just like stand there. And then I'd move and he'd just follow me and just stand there.
And this is in
It was a crazy experience. This is in South Africa for Samsung, yeah. So in Cape Town.
And this guy was like protecting you from what?
And this guy was protecting, well, because the phones, because they're unreleased. They're 2 months.
Oh, so you couldn't release it to anybody or show anybody.
So I couldn't release it, couldn't show anyone. And if anyone was getting too close, he was making sure no one was taking a photo of me with it. Like it was a proper incredible thing.
You're into some cool shit, man.
So, yeah, so I was taking photos, obviously taking actual photos for the release of it. But then I was like, fuck this, I'm taking a selfie. So I took a selfie at the top. And I was like, this is potentially the first ever selfie
with that phone.
Yeah. Because they were completely clean when they gave them to me, and no one had seen them and no one had done anything with them. And yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll take this.
That is cool. So South Africa is probably cool. So, because I got issues with food, where's the neatest or weirdest or best food? You know, like what sticks out in all your travels that you're like, I ate this once and it was wild. Like I bet you when you went to Australia, you ate a kangaroo. You sick weirdo.
I did. You said that in the intro. And I was like, I actually did have a kangaroo burger.
See, because everybody that we played in Australia is telling me they ate kangaroos, and I just can't picture that.
yeah, I did. I don't know whether for better or for worse. So the food in South Africa was incredible and very good value. The food in Bali is incredible and very good value as long as you stay away from Bali belly, which is horrible if you get sick. But the most interesting place I've been to in Japan, and I'll tell you the story. So there's a picture above me with a selfie, which is in Japan. Actually, you can see the neon lights and the kind of like blurred people with umbrellas.
Like you can see the words and everything are in.
Yeah. So that was in Japan, but that wasn't the fish restaurant. But anyways, I'm there with my girlfriend Simone and with one of my best friends and business partner Luke and one of my housemates Andrea. So we're out in Fuji. We're having a great time. We've had a really long shoot, and everywhere closes quite early for food, especially out of the city. So we've taken these amazing photos of Mount Fuji, and we're looking on Google and we find this fish restaurant. We're like, okay, good reviews. We managed to get a table. They're like, someone didn't show up, so you guys can come in. Didn't speak very good English, and we go in and we're like, what would you recommend? And we see on the way in lots of fish. They're all alive in this tank, and we're like, okay, fine. I'm assuming they're just gonna in an aquarium. We're like, okay, well this is going to be interesting. So we go in and we sit down and we're like, what would you recommend? And they go, well, this, and this. And we go, yeah, sure. We'll share it all, and then we'll have a few, a few rice dishes and some other things. So they bring what we think is going to be just like sashimi. So the fish will just be, fresh sushi, basically. And we realized after a few minutes that the fish is still alive, but it's been, honestly, it was just one of the most craziest moments of my life. So what they do, and it's a big tradition in Japan, is that the fish is there, and I feel terrible talking about it, but they basically then just cut it and put the sashimi, so the slices of so it's like super fresh, but they don't kill it or take the guts out, so it's still there, and you're basically then just eating off the live fish. You're eating
it's still alive while you're eating it,
and so it's flipping around. And we were like all freaking out. And we're like, oh my god, we can't honestly. So I got a video, and we're like, we can't do this. This is wrong. This is morally wrong. Like we can't just. And then we're like, we can't leave it because then that fish has just died without. We have, and it's like flipping around on the plate, and like we're like, what do we do? Like what do we do? So we made a pact, and we all ate a piece each, and then that was and that was it. But like that was the crazy.
So how do you like? So it's on a plate in the middle of a table,
in the table,
and it's flipping around,
and it's flipping around, and they've cut it, and they've given it like the fresh cut where you then would have the nice sashimi, And it's supposedly the freshest fish that you can possibly eat.
Well, it's
alive.
It's
still fucking alive.
So like you're scooping it out with like a spoon or like what?
You have chopsticks because they chop it and they just leave it on top of it, and you just
so then you grab it with your chopsticks.
Yeah, you grab your chopsticks and then that poor little fucking.
So where my brain's going with this is, I really respect that when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's like when you go there and you say, "What do you recommend? Let's do it." It's like I still do that. I'll go to restaurants and be like, "What do you suggest?" Like, you guys know, right? But like, you're not gonna have that life experience if you're just getting the normal stuff, right?
Yeah, no, literally, yeah. So, yeah, that was a crazy experience that I won't be doing that again, but
right.
See,
another good question. That's the wildest. That's something.
I'll send you a video of this afterwards, and you can see that poor little fucker flying around there.
So then the next poster pic, you're standing like leaning against a very fancy looking car with your camera. What's that one?
Yeah, down the bottom, that is me and a very nice Bentley that was given to me for my birthday, actually, a couple of years ago.
What's that? You have a Bentley?
Nah, they sent it to me for a week for my birthday to say happy birthday, which is very nice.
Bentley did.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a good relationship with them, and they've been super supportive. I've done a lot of jobs for them, and that year I was working a lot. And
how famous are you?
I mean, not at all. You can see it all on Instagram. But yeah, they were just like, oh, I'd done a lot and I hadn't really had time to enjoy a car. And he was like, oh, when's your birthday? And I was like, oh, August 23rd. And he was like, oh, cool.
And that's just that's what I would think why a company has success is they take care of people that are taking care of them, right? And that like that they're gonna do that for you. You're not gonna forget that, right? And then it's gonna be on your poster.
100%. And then exactly.
Right?
There we go. Now we're talking about it now. And I talk about them all the time, and they're always, they're
another
always
free ad, folks.
There we go. And they're always the brand that have been there. So yeah, they were awesome.
And it's the same as how people get treated in hockey. Is the teams that win are the teams that treat people the best. And it's like in Cardiff when I hurt my knee, and I didn't really I wasn't ready to join the real world, and I had signed up to try and help the Cardiff Devils win that year. And when you think they're going to need to bring in a new player, which they did, they had to pay for a whole nother apartment instead of telling me to get out of there and make room.
Yeah.
And when people take care of people, it's like, well, now I'm still talking about how well they treated me, right?
Yeah, exactly. And who knows how that ripple effect's gone down the chain with guys listening to you or hearing of you and hearing the great stories that you told, and then going, you know what? Yeah, I'd love to give Cardiff a try. And and it rolls down from there. So yeah, fair play, mate.
I agree. So what's the poster pic? You're on a beach with palm trees. Where's that one?
I'm on a beach that was in Spain, not this trip, but a previous trip I did. I don't know. I just thought that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good,
looked like you had a good relaxing life, day. Really. Yeah. That's probably one of the 4 days before or 4 days after, right?
Actually, that was one of the best. That was with my housemate. He flew me out as his +1, but we were doing a campaign for Kia, another car brand, and that was pretty mad. We just basically drove around, and then they would be like, right, leave the car here, and then you go to this bar, and then there was this other event, and you get shuttled everywhere, and yeah, it was cool. Anyway,
well, if you meet any hockey people along your journey that are in these big companies and they're looking to sponsor a hockey podcast, you just let them know about the shed, okay? Because I'm not going to reach out to them. Right?
Absolutely.
So the next one's a sweet photo, and I've been there, and that's what I love talking around in my shed is it makes the world not feel so big. But I went to the Eiffel Tower with my wife and back in the day, and the Eiffel Tower, hey, that's a good looking photo too.
Yeah, that's an epic place. My girlfriend and I went at the beginning in January. And just to go shoot, obviously it's super close from London. We jumped on the on the Eurotunnel and just went straight through on the Eurostar. The fast train, on the Eurostar. They go
fast, don't they?
Yeah, it was epic. We were there within, I don't know how long it was, but it was super quick.
They're crazy.
Easy.
We did that from Germany to Germany to Paris, and literally it felt like you were just floating, and it says how fast you're going, and like you could see we were going like some ridiculous speed, and we were there in no time. Those things are weird.
Yeah, it's epic, and Paris is a cool city. I really like going out there. And yeah, it was just a cool shot from this year.
Okay, and then what's the one where you're hanging out of a window? Another cool like selfie looking type pic.
Where that's in Chicago with the phone.
Yeah, you're hanging out.
Yeah.
That's Chicago.
That's Chicago. Yeah. So there's a spot there which basically has this cool reflective mirror, and you can see on the bottom left or the reflection bottom left and right. There's the Chicago train there. And that was just a shot I was doing for the time I was working for Sony Xperia. So I was just trying to get some cool shots of me with the phone, really. And yeah, that was just one of my travels. I spent like last year. I think it was like 4 months in the US, 4.5 months. So I was traveling around a lot.
Next poster pic. You're looking at like something. It looks like a gigantic nipple by the water. What is that? Where is that?
Gigantic nipple.
Do you see that? It's a nipple. It looks like a nipple. You're like pointing at a city that looks like a nipple.
Oh, that's the shot. Do you mean
it looks like a nipple? If you look at a nipple, that's it right there.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
That's the Samsung shot where I was shooting.
Oh, is it?
That's me for Sorry, I thought you were talking about a different one. Yeah.
Oh,
that's that one.
That's that one. So where was that?
Yeah.
South Africa.
That was South Africa, Cape Town. And
Cape Town looks like a giant nipple.
So that's from one of the nipples onto another nipple looking at. There's two of them.
There's two nipples.
Well, I'm on top of one nipple, and that must be the second nipple. So
good photo. Great stuff. I think it's really cool, the places you've seen. So let's talk a bit of hockey. What?
Is that the selfie you were talking about?
That's the one I was talking about. Selfies are great, folks. Get into the fun.
Selfies are great. So that was EDC. That was the largest dance music festival in the US. So I was
I've seen you shooting stuff for like bands and stuff and music festivals.
DJs. Yeah. Again, that's a lot of fun. Being in front of, I mean, that's
and that's like passion too, right? Because I remember you were into that weird music that I don't like.
Yeah, I was massively into dance music, and everyone in the room would kind of turn it off, and then we'd put Your Country back on, and I'd be incredibly devastated by that.
Everybody's different, folks, right? Takes everybody to win.
Yeah, 100%.
But then you get to do your passion and what you love, and do it at places where you're having a time. That's living, eh?
Oh, 100%. That's one of my favorite things. It's exhausting because it's just, you're on the go, and DJs and bands, and like when you hear about, it's easy. It's a bit like someone saying, it's easy being a sportsman if you're just playing sport. That's all you have to worry about. It's incredibly taxing. You know that. Anyone that's played at a high level knows that how it is. And it's the same in the music industry. Those guys are
they got to stay up and party they got to stay up and be the star of the show and have that energy level and be ready to rock with the travel from place to place. It would be exhausting.
And they'll do the same thing 2-3 times in a night sometimes, and you've got to pretend, or you've got to be there as though it's the first time you've ever done this, and you've got to hype that crowd up. You've got to do this, that. So, and so it's a lot. It's a lot, and I respect the hell out of those guys that do it every night.
You would have been at some epic parties.
Yeah, there's been some good ones.
So growing up in Lewes, England. Lewis, that's how you say it?
Yeah.
Well, then why is it an E, not an I?
I know.
I would have called it Lewis if it was spelt like that. Anyways, okay. Yeah. So how'd you get into hockey?
That's a good question. I was playing street hockey. I was just doing it for fun, rollerblading. Loved roller skating. Got given a hockey stick, one of those bow ones, plastic end that you could take on off a piece of wood, basically. And then progressed from there pretty quickly. I learned that I really liked it. I was okay at it, and then I decided that we went on a family holiday when I was 15 to Toronto, and that was my first ever time on a plane. We went and watched the St. Mike's Majors. And I was like, this is the amazing OHL team for anyone that doesn't know. And I was like, this is amazing. And I saw the goalie, and the goalie at the time was Andy Chiodo, who played a couple of games for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the backup was Justin Peters. And funny enough, 5 or 6 years later, I then was in the same locker room with those two guys, telling the story that I was working with them at a hockey camp. And I was like, oh, by the way, like, funny story, full 360 here. I went and watched you guys play OHL. First ever hockey game, and I saw you being a goalie, and I was like, I want to be a goalie. and then I became a goalie.
Wow, that's a small world, and like it's when you don't realize it while you're playing, and those two guys wouldn't have known about what impact they were having on kids when they're playing in the OHL, but like you can have an impact, and when you start realizing the impact you can have on kids, it's pretty wild, right? And it's like
it's
for these
insane.
when these hockey players that are still playing, like they should realize what they can do for a kid and take that time and do something cool, right?
100%. And like, yeah, the ripple effect, as you say, is just, it's incredible. And that moment was like, okay, I want to be a goalie. And then came back to the UK, and I was pressuring my parents to get the gear. And so eventually then I started being a goalie for roller hockey, but wanted to play ice. And that was when I then made the transition to ice hockey.
And you were how old?
Yeah, 15.
15 when you started being a goalie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it's like people around here think like their kids need to be played AAA when they're 8, 9 years old, and they have to do all this development and all this skating. It's like, you know what? The people that are going to be good are probably going to be good. And, everybody's going to fill out at different age groups, and everybody should just have fun playing hockey.
There you go. That is the thing. And I can imagine parents get very caught up in it. And
especially, I think it also is also like how much money you have to pay to do it. It's like these people pour in a lot of money to give these kids this opportunity. And if they don't get the ice time, if they don't get this, they don't get that, then they get in a bit of a huff and puff. But like, I get that side of it too. But it's like, just enjoy it. Like, you spent all this money. If this is your entertainment, sit back and enjoy your kids playing. Right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, you're a dad, so and you obviously coach.
So when you're 15, you start being goalie, and then you're playing somewhat like pro hockey for the Slough Jets within 2 years.
Yeah, so I was backing up then, and I was playing a few games. And well, there wasn't much of like a feeder system. There was like under, what was I, 15? So there was under 19s. I think they made the age group. So I just missed the under 16s age group by the time I started playing. And then I was like, well, I need to and then I started playing with the adults. And then from that adult team, I then got bumped up to the professional team, which was like they weren't in the elite league. It was like in the whatever, I can't remember what it was called, EPL or E something L. And so I was in that league, and I played a few games, and I was playing for the men's team below, which was like the league, 2 leagues below that. So I was playing with adults and men at an early age, and that was like I guess that also helped with my development, because the under 19s league was terrible.
Right.
Like, it was awful. And I was like, I don't want to play.
And the experience you have in hockey, like, it can be so different. It's like Colby's now playing some baseball, and we just went and beat a team like 19-2, and you could see how much fun our kids were having and how little fun they were having. And it was like, losing that bad is no fun for anybody.
Yeah.
And it's like having leagues where teams don't, like, if you're on a team that's not competitive, it's not fun.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No. So anyway, so that's where it started. And then from there, it exponentially grew. And then I then just wanted to get to Canada, and luckily my parents were supportive. And then I moved to Canada and played out there.
So you do that, you're playing with men, but how did you get to the Bradford Rattlers? Like, how does that happen?
So there was basically tryouts happening in the summer. So they ran a summer camp tryouts, and I went out and did the tryouts.
You flew over to Canada, and you saw. How did you pick Bradford? Why Bradford then? If you're just going to pick tryouts.
They actually, a friend of mine from the UK was out there. So he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go to these tryouts," or maybe he did the year before. He was older than me, so maybe he'd done it before. Anyways, I can't remember. He basically influenced me into it and said, they run tryouts. You can go along. It's a summer camp as well, so they basically pick from their summer camps. So I was like, sweet, let's do it. And then I flew out there.
Made the
parents
team.
Gave me the opportunity, and then made the team. And then from there, never really looked back.
And then you move into Bradford, right? Like by Toronto, the north side of Toronto.
North side of Toronto, yeah. So kind of knew that whole area. We were in
Are you doing school, or are you done at that point? You're just playing hockey?
I was done at that point, so I was just playing hockey. I just finished college in the UK, so it was good timing in terms of then college in the UK is like the end of high school in the US.
Yeah,
in
it's
Canada.
totally
So
different systems, right?
Yeah, So it was good, and then just went straight up. And
so you played junior hockey in Bradford. You got there, you made the team. You play there, so you're living with billets or on your own?
They had these dorms set up for guys that were coming in.
Yeah. I looked, the research team got hot, and like you had guys from different countries on that junior team. Yeah. There was a guy from South Africa on that team, I think.
There was.
One of the nipples.
There was. Yeah. We also had, funnily enough, at the summer camp that I went to that year and made the team, Victor Hedman was there.
Really?
Yeah. So Victor
good.
was there. He's pretty good. He made the team, but turned them down. Thanks very much. But I'm going to the NHL.
Right. Yeah. We might not stop here.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was good.
So then you guys won it both years too, 15. Then.
Yeah, that team is by far the best team. So again, I guess it breeded that winning mentality.
Okay, so you had fun then. Like if you moved over to Canada and then you guys win, and you're saying you're better than the other teams, that's fun. Winning's fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
In junior, when I was playing in my hometown and we were the best team, like it was fun.
Yeah, we had a good time. But yeah, as I said, like intense though. Like training was twice a day, gym was once a day. But it was really good because it progressed me from having not had that level of training. Like my dad had to take me to practice at like midnight in the middle of nowhere, which was like an hour and a bit drive on a Tuesday.
Just to have the opportunity.
So just to have the opportunity to get on the ice. And then we trained from, or maybe it was like 11 till midnight or quarter past. And then obviously by the time I got out, we were getting home at like 2:30 a.m. and he'd be up for work at 6. And then he'd do a full day. And then I'd go to school, or half the time I'd miss school because I was too tired. And then it would do the same thing the next night. And he'd take me to the next rink or the next team I was playing for, because I was playing for multiple, like roller hockey and ice hockey.
So you got to be a bit thankful for what they were doing for you, right? And it's like with with what we got going on now, it's like, well, nobody needs to thank me or us, because like that's what we want to do. It's like, that is my entertainment. Tonight I get to go watch him play baseball, and it's going to be awesome. Yeah. And I can't wait to see him and his little shed guys try and beat the other team that's undefeated. And like, he's a lucky kid, because it's similar to me growing up in Elmira. We had an age group of players that were all athletes, and to see the careers these guys had. And it's like, now Colby has a few buddies in Ripley that are athletes, and like, they're good hockey players, they're good baseball players. And like, there's age groups where they can really suck in these small towns. And we're fortunate enough that we got a squad around here, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait to coach next season. We're going to kick the shit out of everybody. Seriously.
What age group?
Under 13.
Okay.
Yeah. So Colby will be we have 2 years together in this small town. So Colby's a first year. And then be a whole different squad than I've coached before. And I'll have to teach them how to be shed guys, right?
There we go.
Right? Doesn't matter who gets the goals and assists, as long as we win the game, right? And you better be a teammate.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you win both years. I'm curious about this one. Why did you go NCAA? Because you don't make money, and like you said, you're done college. So why are you going to NCAA?
I went to NCAA, so I went D3 because I needed to progress.
At hockey?
I still was.
Not if you weren't going there for the school.
No, fuck no. I was there to learn more about hockey. I was there to mature as a goalie. I was there to get in the best shape I could possibly be in and give myself the best opportunity to then hopefully turn pro in the future. Mm-hmm. It was just like another stepping stone, and it wasn't what I set out to do when I went to Canada. I didn't say I want to go to Canada for 2 years and then play
until
NCAA.
The opportunity presented itself, and then you're like, well, why not?
Yeah, exactly. And then it became apparent that actually this is a really good opportunity because, it was cheaper. I mean, it wasn't a full ride, but it was cheaper for me to go to university in the US with the help that they were willing to give than it was for me to go to university in the UK. Not that I was going to go to university in the UK, but that was kind of how I justified it to myself. I was like, okay, yeah.
So I was like, okay. You made the decision to go. So where is Morrisville State College?
Upstate New York, in between Syracuse and Utica. So near
my old honey hole, Syracuse, New York. That's a fun city too.
Yeah,
you can have fun in Syracuse. It's a fun city.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so is it like one of those little small schools then, where everybody knows everybody?
Yeah, I learned that the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're the only English guy on campus, everyone knows who you are. And
right. It's kind of like when you go to
you.
Germany and you don't speak German and you dress like a North American. They point you out
Yeah.
pretty quick, and then when you
Yeah.
realize that everybody knows like that you're having fun and that it's like, oh, sorry, didn't know I wasn't supposed to have fun.
Yeah, when anything happens, the coach will definitely know about it the next day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you're like,
that's the small town world, right? It's like living in Bietigheim, Germany. It's like if me and 5 of the fellows got in one and had fun, and like even you walk home late at night, people see you out walking home, and it's like, come on, leave us alone.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Okay, so after the 2 years at NCAA, then you decide you're ready and you leave. What did you take in school for 2 years when you weren't really into it?
I did. What did I do? Sports nutrition and fitness management. Loved the nutrition side. Didn't love the academic side of like maths and English, and because in the US they have to, for anyone that hasn't been to US college, you have to like take other things as well, so you can't just take the subjects that you want to learn about. So I loved sports nutrition. I found it fascinating. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't like
to take other stuff that you don't like.
Yeah, I didn't like math. I didn't like English, and you had to do all of that. So I learned pretty fast that actually I was just taking classes I wanted, and then my electives were just, I wasn't even doing them, and therefore you have to get these credits as well. So I was so behind on certain credits. I was like, I've done all the really cool stuff that I like.
Yeah.
One of them, for instance, was public speaking. Would never have thought I would ever do that, but that helped in the future. I then learned how to I couldn't speak in front of anyone up until that class. And the guy, the professor, would look like Peter Griffin from Family Guy. He just sit at the back of the room and he just, I don't know, made me laugh and gave me a sense of like, okay, like, fuck it, let's just talk. And that actually then progressed me. And then now,
well, you learn by doing, right? Yeah. And then you get more comfortable by doing, right?
Yeah. And that progressed. But yeah, so then I dropped out and I was like, okay, yeah, I had the opportunity. And I came back to the UK in the summer. I wasn't sure what I was doing. And then I spoke to Glasgow, and that was a brand new team in 2010 when the Braehead Clan was becoming an organization. Neil Black,
that was their first year.
That was their first year. So I was brought in as part of that team, which was a huge honor that Bruce, reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in joining? And I was like, hell yeah, Glasgow would be cool. I've never been, but it sounds like a cool opportunity. So I just took it, ran with it.
And Glasgow is a cool city. Like, it's a nice spot.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it was great. My rookie year was so much fun. We had a very good bunch of guys, but I think everyone was, we had this tiny little budget and we weren't expected to do anything at all. So we then started to win a few games and got a bit of momentum, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And winning is fun, and having a good group of guys makes it way more fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also Glasgow's a great night out, so I had a good time.
Right. So I got a question. Did you ever play in a third place game?
Yeah, plenty of them. Fuck's sake.
Aren't they something?
Why do they keep doing them? Anyone from the IHL is listening.
Well, because
they still do them now.
They're still doing them. And like
I think I played in 3.
Is that right? 3 of them.
4?
The only reason I asked was because you weren't the starter in Glasgow, and then it says you played 1 playoff game and you had 6 goals against and whatever save percentage, and I'm thinking that's a third place game.
Yeah, that would have been the first year when everyone went out. That would have been like the first time, so that was a terrible opening. Yeah, welcome to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure it twice, maybe twice. I can't remember.
You would have played when we played in the third place game with Cardiff, right?
Yeah, I got a shout out that year, and everyone.
Well,
I got a shout out that year.
That was when they told us we couldn't go out because we had sucked so bad in the semifinals. And it's like, well, my career's over, and I'm not a player, so me and Deese can go out. But the rest of the team was on eggshells that night after.
Oh yeah,
it was embarrassing. We lost 6-0 in the semifinals, like Coventry, and it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And nobody went out. And then the next game, you guys really dominated.
I think we won like 10-0, 8-0 or something.
Yeah, because they were in one. They couldn't. They were on shaky legs.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then I also played for Guildford, maybe once or twice.
That was probably the weirdest pregame speech ever, was when I showed up like tired from the night before, after like my hockey career is over. All we have left is a third place game. And I show up like later than I normally would. And Lorna was like, "What are you doing? Like, you have to do the speech." I'm like, "I'm not doing a speech for third place game. Go fuck, like I don't give a shit who wins this game. It's over now. We lost yesterday." And me and Deese were both still in one, and we did it was ridiculous. I think somebody was wearing like a horse head, and we were on a skateboard. It was so silly, but you guys won.
Right? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, well, when you lose 6-0 the night before, and I spray paint myself blue with SWAT on my chest, and then they go out and lay an egg, right? That'll piss you off. Right? So anywho, Glasgow was a great time then, eh? And
yeah, good time.
So it was a couple of years, and then Finner took over. So you played with Finner?
Yeah, I played with Finner. I did 4 years up there. Yeah.
How many years was he the coach?
I was only there for 1 year with him.
Okay. Do you know about the chocolate in Manchester? What happens when they win now? They throw chocolate on the ice because of the shed. For real.
Because of you guys. Really?
I'm talking in the shed. I had a whole bunch of the Storm family on last year, and after every win, they chuck chocolate on the ice now.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, actually. But I like Finner.
Yeah. He pushed hard for me to make the GB team that year I made it. So
well, that's good. People need people in their corner, right? And then why did you leave Glasgow to come to Cardiff then?
So I was rooming with Bouncy at GB.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about all these changes happening he was telling me about these changes happening in Cardiff. And I was like, no chance, because pre your day in Cardiff, it was not a very well run organization, to be polite, I think, from what I'd heard about it. And so I was like, I'm moving to make me sign down there. And Bouncy was like, listen, I think there's going to be some changes. I think it'll be better. It'll be great. And I was like, mate, not a chance. So I then took off to Australia. Nice little trip out there to play in that league. And then we stayed in contact, and then things in Glasgow, the message of the first was, we're re-signing you. And then with all these things, then it changed, and they were being a little bit shady with the money that was being done. And I was like, I don't really feel that it's fair to cut. And then they're like, okay. And then Cardiff reached out and said, hey, we've heard from Bouncy that, and I was like, Bouncy, what do you mean? And they were like, yeah, we've been interested in, this is Franny, interested in signing you. So I was like, okay. And at that point, things had broken down with Glasgow. That had finished. And I honestly thought I would have my full career in Glasgow. Like, I planned to be there for 10 years.
Right.
Cash in on a testimonial, have a great time. And then do it. And this was like a bit of a switch up. So yeah, then when Franny reached out, I was like, sure, let's do it. And so I signed.
And when you say that, and like that's like, I thought I'd play in Bietigheim like forever. I felt like that was home. And I actually remember when we went back with Cardiff that next year, you got a hell of an ovation in Glasgow.
Yeah,
that would have meant a lot for a guy, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely had a good relationship with the fans, and I'd obviously been there from day one. I ran the community program. So I helped try and get kids into the sport, talk about health, fitness, help the junior. There was a lot. It was a lot going on for me, not just with the clan themselves, but like the fans and the juniors and with the community. So for me, that was like,
that's when it's tough to leave.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're there and I'm putting way more time and effort in than 99% of the other people there, because I believed that these kids and these people and the fans
and you were helping grow something when they had never even had a team before.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they were like, actually we're going a different direction, that was obviously quite a big like wow with me, and I was like, fuck, dude, like this was my plan. And literally like a day later, Franny reached out and said, hey, Bouncy said that you're interested, or Bouncy said that you're available or something. Because I think I spoke to Bouncy.
Well, and then then we became champions together, right?
And then we became champions. Yeah. And we beat the clan. But yeah, that was an amazing reception. And I always love it up there, and it's always been great to get back. But then
isn't
it was
it
also
something
amazing
though when speaking of the Devils is when you go there and all the Devils fans sing the national anthem. That's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, they are loud and
right.
Yeah, they're
in
equally
a road
as awesome.
arena. Yeah, but Glasgow's got a fan base too, don't they? They are passionate up there.
Yeah, but as you say, like, you know, I thought that was going to be the case, and I'm sure it was the same for you. But when you do move, and that door closes, another one opens, but then it opens itself up to other things and other opportunities and other people. So I'm really happy it did, and you know, we wouldn't have met, and I wouldn't have won that championship, and
you're absolutely right though. And it's like for me, if Bietigheim wouldn't have asked me to kindly leave, I would have never gone to Denmark and seen what that was like. I would have never came to Cardiff. The whole thing wouldn't have played out the same way. And I'm very thankful that it all happened now, you know?
Yeah, precisely.
So let's see here. Australia was good though. That's like when you're playing the most games, eh? Like you played 20 games and you're the starter. Like that would like, it's got to be hard to develop you practice a lot, but you weren't playing that many games, right?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, it was always one of those cases of do I drop down a league and try and be a starter and push through that way? Or do I just keep plugging away in the EIHL?
And hopefully you'll get your chance to
hopefully you get a chance. And it is really tough. But I think either way would have been cool, would have been fun. There would have been different experiences. But yeah, Australia was a great opportunity to then go and just play every game.
Yeah.
It was cool. Guys were honestly, the Aussies, like those guys were so quick-witted. They were so fun. That was awesome. I didn't live in the town. I lived in the middle of nowhere it was an awesome place with a great guy. And we had a lot of fun, but I wasn't close to the rest of the boys. So I kind of regret that in a way, because I was over here in the mountains, and then the team were often, you know, going out and stuff, and I was never around. But apart from that, it was a really, really good experience. I got to travel the whole of Australia. Anyone looking to do it, I'd highly recommend going and playing that league, because you just get to.
Well, it's an opportunity to see the world, right? And, like you would, I had even heard of guys going to Australia, and I thought, geez, that's an interesting opportunity, and I never did do it. And now who knows? I may never make it there, right?
Yeah, that's one of those things, exactly. And I've never been back since, but what an opportunity to do that. And you get to play a bunch of games, you get to see a bunch of cool cities. Some of the rinks are pretty mediocre at best, but again, experiences, stories for the boys.
Yeah.
And
memories.
And it's cool. Memories, exactly. Yeah. So I'm really happy I did that. Yeah, played all the games, and then obviously came straight back to Cardiff.
Right. And then you had your 2 years in Cardiff. So then is that you were kind of deciding to start stepping away and getting more into photography when you went to Guildford, or why did you leave Cardiff?
So I did 2 years in Cardiff, and then the second year was when I then picked up a camera and started to get into photography, like towards the end of the season, like definitely the second half. I think it was kind of January onwards.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the season, we went on that ski trip. Were you there?
Yeah,
you were there.
Oh gosh,
yeah, you were.
Yeah, I never skied. Remember?
Skiing.
So
that's right.
That's a story. Oh my word, jeepers! Was I there? Remember the red saucer ride?
Oh my god.
I honestly, I think that red saucer ride is the wildest thing I may have done in my life. That was crazy. When I saw what I had done the next day, because like it was cloudy and you couldn't really see how high it went the first day we were there. And then we go up and say, Carl says, you have to make it down. Like, that's what we're doing tonight. We're going to this shack a third of the way down the mountain, and we're going to drink all night and eat and have moonshine and have the moonshine with the snake in it. Oh my God. And then at the end of the night, the people that own that shack, this is in Morzine, France, folks. This is living. The people that own that shack and cooked us food all night and fed us and let us drink. We had a time. We're Carl's friends when we played there. Then they were on snowmobiles behind us with lights so we wouldn't fall off the mountain. And because of my knee, I couldn't ski. And I had a little red saucer that was at our chalet and went down the whole mountain in France. It was nuts.
That was fun. That was unbelievable.
It was fun until I went through the moguls. That was not fun.
That was unreal. Yeah, that was a good trip. I had a lot of fun. Anyway, so we went on that trip. We came back to Cardiff. I had a summer job working for a radio station there, And basically at the time then they were going in a different direction, and I wanted to play a few more games. So we were chatting back and forth. And then they were like, where would you want to sign if you weren't signing here? And I said, well, Guildford in the because they were at the time were in the Premier League, which is the league below. And I was thinking, okay, well, it was also going to be good for being close to London. It was close to my family.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I was like, okay. So then Lorde called them and said, hey, listen, look into this guy basically. And then I think like Paul Dixon, Digger, what a guy. He's the head coach there. Eventually he'll eventually call me back after like a month. And I was like, yeah, so you're interested, we're looking to sign you. And I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Because of course, I mean, as a player, anyone else watching that's been a player, when you don't have a team, you're always like, fuck, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And
then when the call finally happens and you're like, oh yeah, what a relief.
I was like, why couldn't you do that months ago? I spoke to a few other elite league teams, but they weren't offering any sort of, because the backup position is never a big budget, and you're expected to basically pay your way around, and it's tough. And I'd obviously been in the league for a while, so there was a certain expectancy that was there. Anyways, Guildford moved on pretty quickly, and I went in to Split, and they had an import as well. So it went really well, and the beginning of the year was slow for me personally, but I then became the starter in the second half of the year, and we were sucking, and I just didn't get an opportunity until like, and we were like, I don't know, 8th or something, and it took us to 4th. I think I won like 10 in a row.
Oh, that's living. That's fun.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also down to the boys. Like, there's only a certain amount that they I was working hard in practice, I was doing my thing, and you know what it's like, and they're like, oh, and I finally got an opportunity, and one of the captains was like, we're going to really turn it on here, Will, so give us a good game and we'll get the W. And then we did it, and then
you get on a heater
the next night,
and
then you get on exactly, and then the boys are playing well, they have confidence, and then suddenly we then bumped ourselves up into the playoffs. We beat the top seed in the playoffs. I got a shot in the first game, we won 2-0, and then we went through to the finals, and then we lost in the finals. But it was cool to then do that, and because I guess I got hot
and do it as the starter,
and do it as a starter. I was the only British goalie in the finals, like out of the final 4 as well.
That's cool.
So it was nice, and then obviously finishing on a hot streak meant that then when we went back up to the elite league,
they brought you with them.
Guildford, they brought me with them, and I was one of the only guys. I think there's 4 of us that they brought with them, and I was one of those 4. And I played a little bit at the beginning of that year. I played like games in a row, and then that was fun and it was good. And then towards the end of the year, they then had a second import because our other import got injured. So yeah, it was good. So yeah, Guildford was ended up being a good move.
Well, then you stayed there for 4 seasons, eh?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was great, and I think honestly, the mentality that the team had with my photography, that's what gave me the opportunity to do both.
And they embraced you for who you were and what your passion and what you were doing.
Yeah.
And that they knew you were going to show up and play hard and let me do this too, right?
Yeah. And the team would give me time off if I needed it. So if I had a shoot on a Tuesday, they'd be like, yeah, no worries, missed Tuesday practice. And I'd text Petr Čech and say, hey buddy, can you cover me? And he'd be like, yeah. So he'd be at practice.
Is that right?
And then
that's crazy.
and so he'd be there, and then I'd take a Tuesday off because I had a paid shoot somewhere, and I'd go and do that. And then there was even like a week where I was in Bahrain shooting for the tourism board out there, and he covered me that week. And
what's Bahrain?
It's out it's near like Dubai kind of area, I want to say, a bit further south. Like it's the old original Dubai. It's beautiful. Very hot, sandy, deserty. Cool modern building.
And you're doing that while you're playing in the EIHL here.
So I was doing that. So the tourism board arranged the trip from Monday to Friday, so I could fly out on the Monday and be back on the Friday, so I could back up on the Saturday and Sunday.
That's when know you're sought after, when they're making deals for you to be able to do that. And that's cool. And like for me, what I appreciate is with like my real world job is like they've always trusted me to get my job done and let me have fun and have my passion on the side too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's so important as well, because you're going to then repay them that back in whatever way you can. So
exactly. And you're going to give her when people are on your team. Yeah. You can work hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
No,
then you had a
100%.
great time at Guildford, and then you decided to shut her down when all the baloney started, and then dove right into it. But you were already pretty well there.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have my business kind of set up. And I mean, you'll have seen this as well with guys that are retiring from hockey. It's your identity. It's what you love. It's your passion. It's the boys. And at the time I was single. So when I was then leaving that, if I hadn't have had my photography set up, it would have been a completely, I guess, a very different way of coming out of it, because you don't have the identity. You don't have anyone else around you. You're there doing your own thing. So having the photography really, really helped.
Yeah. And you already had your community of people, and like you had those shooters set up where you were meeting up with people and having fun and following your passion. It's like, I posted a picture on my story there on Instagram the other day of what I looked like in 2016 and what I look like now. And like I was having a hard time out of the game, and I had lost my identity, and I had no passion to really be doing anything. I hated hockey with where I was at in life and what was happening. And I had a really hard time. And then starting this and getting to do this, and everybody's been supportive. It means the world. And then you can be happy again, you know?
Yeah, 100%. No, I completely believe that. And I think that hockey guys aren't told enough that once you're leaving the sport, like what you've learned within the sport will take you in any direction you want, because you're a good person. You know how to be around other people. You know how to work hard. You know how to be on time. You know how to, and all these simple things I have then learned that not many people have those skill sets. So those are like desired skill sets within the workplace or whatever you want to do. So if you're thinking, I can't do it because I haven't been educated, like push hard towards it, because like there is that opportunity there, and you may not have that like studying skill set, but you have that skill set in life because you've been around so many things.
And the work ethic too, right? It's like some of the bag skates you go through, some of the workouts, some of the stuff that you have to put yourself through together is like, geez, the stuff you're asking me to do really isn't that hard.
No, literally. No,
right?
And then other people are like acting as though you just asked them to go and climb that Everest. And you're like, no, like it's literally.
No, you just have to go do it.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
just get it done.
And then it's like when you play hockey with a bunch of dudes and special people, and you all learn from each other. And it's like you see the careers everybody had for that Devils team and what people are doing after hockey. It's like that was a successful group of dudes. And I've been on other teams with that type of guys. I call them shed guys, right? And it like it's, I don't know, it changes who you are, it changes your drive, it changes your identity as being around great people in the game of hockey, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And that's why it's so tough to get out of afterwards. But it's great to see you having so much success and doing what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
Man, it's when I saw how good you were getting at it in such a brief amount of time, and now how big you've gotten, it's passion, it's work ethic, but it's talent, and seems like you figured out what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Very lucky to have something for after hockey, and the passion and the love for it is there.
Yeah, well, it was great catching up with you again, sir. Mate, and that's what I love about this, man, is like getting to see your brothers from back in the day, and you get to finally sit down and have a chat. Like we probably didn't sit down and talk like this for the whole year at Cardiff, right? Like you don't get to sit down like this.
Yeah.
And this has been an
experience to talk about either.
This is so much fun. Thanks for making the time. I know you're a busy boy, man.
Of course. No, don't be silly. I'm actually going out now to shoot a YouTube video. So.
Oh, jeepers. Well, there you go. And I'm going to send this out too. And this has been another episode of 2 Ales and Hockey Tales with Wilsey and Wally.